I'm the sponsored partnership associate at WiSys. Many WiSys programs that we've heard this week celebrate student research and innovation. Quick Pitch is one such event. It's created by WiSys and piloted at UW-Eau Claire in 2015. The goal of Quick Pitch is to encourage innovative thinking by inspiring students to consider the impact of their research on society, and by teaching them how to communicate and share the why behind what they are doing with the people who they interact with every day, whether that's their banker or their grandmother or just someone at a party. The WiSys Quick Pitch competition is open to both undergraduate and graduate researchers in any major. If a student is doing research in their area of interest, WiSys wants to help them share their story and consider the impact of their research findings on society. Throughout the campus Quick Pitch competitions at the 11 regional universities of Wisconsin, plus UW-Madison, we had competitors from the sciences, humanities, education, and business. 65 students from 12 universities of Wisconsin worked with their research advisors and community mentors to perfect their pitches and compete with other students from their campus in the spring. Today we'll hear from the students that qualified to move on to the state final at their campus competitions. They will be competing today for 4 prizes totaling $1,600. That includes the $100 People's Choice Award, on which all of you will be voting. Our participants today will have 3 minutes to impress a panel of judges with their ability to explain the value and impact of their research, after which our judges will have a couple of minutes for questions. Before we begin, I'd like to thank our judges. First, we have Dr. Amy Prevost, who is the Executive Director of the Biopharmaceutical Technology Center Institute, a nonprofit sponsored by Promega. Next is Bethany Larson, who is the Venture Investment Director at the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, or WEDC. And finally, Emily Bauer, who is Director of Licensing at the Wisconsin Alumni Research Foundation, or WARF. Let's give them a hand. Thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here with us today. My colleague Sadie Euling and I will help keep everyone on track by keeping time and introducing the competitors and the topics of research. And with that, I think we can get started. Starting from the University of Wisconsin River Falls with the topic, comparison of captive bolt placements, tissue thickness, and potential for bolt thalamic contact in cadaver yak heads. Gabrielle Heidemann.
Did you know that there is only one scientific study published to guide effective stunning in yaks? UW River Falls was the first to evaluate using a penetrating captive bolt based on the location of the thalamus, which is a structure inside of the brain that is linked to sensibility. A penetrating captive bolt is a handheld device that fires a metal rod into the brains of animals, causing immediate trauma and loss of consciousness. To conform to the Humane Methods of Slaughter Act, all animals are rendered unconscious by a single blow or gunshot, which makes a penetrating captive bolt ideal due to the instantaneous trauma that is caused to the brain. Have you noticed an increase in demand for meat derived from yaks? That is probably because of the low-fat, high-protein meat content with a higher vitamin and mineral profile when compared to beef. When compared to beef. Sorry, I put it on track. This is most likely due to the higher vitamin and mineral content when compared to beef. Although numerous studies have been conducted to identify external placement points to stun other livestock species such as cattle, sheep, goats, and even bison, there is yet to determine a placement point for yaks, despite the worldwide population surpassing 13 million. The American Veterinary Medical Association even fails to mention yaks within their slaughter guidelines, even though those guidelines served as a basis for meat animal slaughter. Even though an improper stun can cause increased pain and distress for the yak, that will worsen their welfare state. Furthermore, an improper stun can cause increased guilt and anxiety for the employee who places the stun, causing a worsened mental health state. Seeing as distress to both the yak and the handler is completely unacceptable, UW River Falls has been dedicated to pioneering research and identifying external placement points to stun a yak. The first study collected cadaver yak heads to analyze both internal and external head anatomy, which paved the way for my study. My study is focused on identifying those external landmarks with the most potential for bolt-thalamic contact. My goal is to not only identify those external landmarks, but to also open educational opportunities for those slaughter facilities who may process yaks. This not only benefits the welfare of the animal, but to the handlers as well. Although yak head anatomy may be comparable to other livestock species, it is important to understand that their brain anatomy slightly differs, which makes it crucial that we identify a placement point specific to yaks. Overall, we are striving to produce low-stress, high-yielding animals to feed our growing population in the most efficient and environmentally sustainable practices possible. To quote Dr. Temple Grandin, "Nature is cruel, but we don't have to be." Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation. My question is, what inspired you to pursue this topic?
Absolutely. So I was raised on a meat sheep farm, actually. So I went to UW River Falls with the intention to be a large animal vet. That did not exactly work out. So I had a meeting with my advisor, and he pointed me towards the Humane Handling Institute on campus. And what they do is essentially teach slaughter personnel how to stun. And the more I got into it, the more I realized, I'm like, man, although I can't help animals through the veterinary aspect, I can help them through the welfare aspect and end of life. And that became extremely important to me, especially knowing that they won't have to experience pain during slaughter.
Beautiful, thank you.
So my question is around some prior research related to yak slaughter, because obviously yaks are not that common in the United States, but they're very common other places on the planet. What sort of comparison research have you done based on work in other countries?
Absolutely. So about 93% of those 13 million yaks actually are in China. But since they are becoming more popular in the United States, that's how we had access to those cadaver yak heads. My student advisor, she was the one that had the first study, and that was only published about a year ago. She was the one that was able to collect those yak heads. We took all of our pictures, and after that, that's how we were able to stem from her study to my study, and hopefully future studies as well. But the important thing was collecting the original 30 cadaver yak heads, and now we are able to move on. Hopefully, the goal is to move on to different ages and sexes in yaks as well, as we only analyze male yaks, but that is the goal moving forward, especially as the demand continues to grow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next presenter is from UW La Crosse with the topic, Barriers or Bridges, Immigrant Entrepreneurship in the U.S. and Wisconsin. Here is Nanil Jarawala.
All right, I'm ready when you guys are. Cool. So immigrant entrepreneurs are a powerful engine of economic growth. Despite representing only 13% of total US population, the total new businesses formed at 28%. But in Wisconsin, the full potential remains untapped. My name is Naina Mukesh Jariwala. I'm a senior from University of Wisconsin-La Crosse, and my research focuses on structural, financial, and psychological barriers faced by immigrant entrepreneurs with an emphasis in the Midwest. Next up, the survey and the interviews that we conducted revealed two core concepts: cognitive dissonance and name-based bias based on existing stereotypes, a new founding. So, a name just based on, let's just say, Secure Pay India and Whitestone Capital, which one would you choose for your credit card and sensitive information? And 89% consumers went with Whitestone Capital. What does this say? A name-based bias in action. The name just came into action based on an existing stereotype, representative heuristic. From interviews, one immigrant entrepreneur said that after living in the US for 25 years, they said with what they struggle is thinking better. Scientifically, that's cognitive dissonance, meaning feeling out of sync with where you are and how the system thinks. Being an immigrant founder by myself, I could say that thinking better is one of the biggest things. And would you know, the most powerful insight wasn't what they said, it was how they said it. We came for a better life here, but sometimes even small things like accent feels like a very big thing. You might have noticed a slight change in my accent. Thanks to my friends, I was able to blend and adapt in, but many don't get the chance to. And even everyday consumer makes snap and biased judgments based on representative heuristic and names. For example, Miller Market was preferred over Tao Brothers for clearer and loyalty programs. What does this say? That again, name was focused over the services provided by this company. So, in Illinois, 13% increase in business ownership was found based on immigrant-led initiative focused. If similar things are mirrored here in Wisconsin, could add $30 million in economic activity with 1,000 microloans given. So, what does my research say? It says that behind every unfamiliar ambition is a familiar, behind unfamiliar, accent is a familiar ambition to succeed, to build, and to belong. Namaste.
Thank you. I enjoyed your presentation. Did you notice any trends in particular industries more than others where you saw this distinction?
So the research was mainly focused on the retail industry. So the whole trend was focused on, based on my particular experience on like going through Walmart and like having my friends choose between two just based on name. So retail was the core industry that we focused on.
So what makes your research unique in your field?
Yes, so a previous research by Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, based on their book Thinking Fast and Slow, is very much based on unconscious biases. My research developed name-based bias, which is a new finding in the behavioral economics field, which wasn't surveyed before. Yes, and to elaborate on that, again, going back to my similar example about like selecting Whitestone Capital or Securepay India, just based on existing stereotypes among Indians. Which is not socially acceptable, but unconscious biases of human does play an action in that. Yeah, thank you.
Our next presenters are from UW Parkside with the topic, Development of Next Generation Superconducting Electronic Devices. Here are Riley Tucker and Stephen Jovanovic.
Medical imaging techniques such as the MRI and MEG suffer from high manufacturing costs, low performance, and low image resolution. Quantum computers have similar limitations, rooted in their limited computing power and costly and complex cryogenic systems. Deep space exploration faces challenges due to insufficient performance and sensitivity of current generation electronic technology. Current market reports suggest that these industries have a combined value of around $500 billion. Could there be a way to simultaneously remedy these issues and reduce costs by 50%? Good morning. My name is Stephen Jovanovic, and our current research group here at UW Parkside consists of me, Riley Tucker, Bella Sanfilippo, and Professor Home Candell. In collaboration with a number of research institutions and national universities, along with funding from a myriad of sources, including the WiSys Ignite grant, we plan to give you the next generation of electronic technology utilizing superconductors. A superconductor is a material that offers zero electrical resistance when cooled to its critical temperature, generally around -450 degrees Fahrenheit, and possesses exotic electrical properties that enable the creation of these next generation technologies. And is important for the making of the device known as each Josephson junction. These devices are composed of heterostructures, namely two superconducting layers that sandwich about 1 nanometer thin layer of electrical insulator and possess exotic properties that enable the creation of next generation technologies. Our current research focuses on the characterization nanofabrication and characterization of heterostructures using the compatible materials YBCO and PBCGO. The former is a well-known high-temperature superconductor with critical temperature nearing around -280°F, and the latter is a novel electrical insulator that boasts resistivity levels 5 orders of magnitude higher than conventional insulators used with YBCO.
In order to create the heterostructures required for Josephson junctions and other superconducting devices, we first synthesize the YBCO and PBCGO powders and use them to create pure sintered discs. We then take the discs and perform pulse laser deposition at the oxide lab at UW-Madison, during which we put the discs into a vacuum chamber and shoot them with a laser, causing plumes of plasma to condense onto our base material. After the growth process, we run tests such as X-ray diffraction to verify the structural orientation, atomic force microscopy to identify any structural defects, and electrical measurements to evaluate the sample's critical temperature and conductivity. With additional testing from our collaborators at the University of Michigan and the U.S. Department of Energy laboratories, we have successfully created and identified samples that showcase excellent crystalline orientation, an extremely smooth surface free from any defects, and a critical temperature of -320°F, making them compatible with cheaper cryogenic systems. Our experimental results indicate the potential for developing highly efficient, more powerful, and cost-effective superconducting devices built from our thin-film heterostructures. Our research could have a significant impact on both the local and global economies and create opportunities to partner with healthcare companies in Wisconsin, such as Siemens, Bruker, and GE Healthcare. Thank you for your time.
Can you talk a little bit more about the impact of your work? So who benefits most from this research and how?
So by developing these higher temperature superconductors and these Josephson junctions, we are going to try to innovate the medical industry. So right now MRI machines use liquid helium-based MRI, and that's very expensive for the hospitals, and then it gets passed on to the consumer. So by improving these MRI machines and making them cheaper, we then can improve the costs for the consumer and these medical industries. But we also have impacts in deep space exploration, 6G communication, and airport security. So there is a wide range of fields that we can provide a substantial renovation to with this technology.
Wonderful, thank you.
I wanted to build on that question. Have you looked at quantum computing at all? Superconducting qubits, of course, are a hot area, and there are several startups pursuing that track. Is that something you considered?
Definitely. The main goal is that we try to make we want to ideally make a potential to make higher temperature superconducting chips. So as he said with the liquid helium, Microsoft made a couple superconducting chips now, and they use niobium, which has a boiling or a critical temperature of around like 4 degrees Kelvin, really, really cold. Ours is a lot higher, which enables the use of liquid nitrogen, which is much cheaper to use than liquid helium. So that's the main increases. It makes it a little more practical, and it makes it a little more cheaper to implement.
Great, thank you.
Brief warning that our next presenter's topic, or her research topic, deals with intimate partner violence. If anyone would like to step away, that's fine, but you're going to want to be back 6 minutes later to hear more about microalgae-infused hard candy. But with that warning. From UW-Platteville, with the topic, How Gender Moderates Perceptions Regarding Intimate Party Violence, Riley Klippel.
One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 seconds. That is the average interval in time in which women are beaten and assaulted in the United States. Hello, thank you for being here today. My name is Riley Klippel. My research partner is Mackenzie Kirker, and our study is how gender moderates perceptions regarding intimate partner violence. When my research partner and I were first diving into this topic, we quickly realized that the majority of the articles we were coming across focused on the traditional male perpetrator, female survivor dynamic. With this in mind, we wanted to test if participants could identify instances of intimate partner violence in heterosexual couples at the same rate as queer couples. The way that we accomplished this was by randomly assigning our participants to one of 4 unique groupings. They either read a short story depicting an incident of intimate partner violence with either male on male crime, male on female, female on female, or female on male violence. After reading these identical scenarios, which the only difference between these scenarios was the names of either the perpetrator or the survivor, we planned and specifically used highly gendered names, William, Nancy, Johnny, and Sarah, so that there wouldn't be any confusion regarding the gender of either party. We then asked our participants how comfortable they were with identifying the story as an instance of intimate partner violence, how violent the situation was, how traumatic the situation was, and if they would recommend that the survivor seek mental health treatments. Our study produced several statistically significant findings. Firstly, participants were more comfortable identifying instances of intimate partner violence when the survivor was female. Furthermore, when the perpetrator was male, the participants believed that that individual created more violent scenarios, and when the survivor was female, those instances were believed to be more traumatic. Lastly, female survivors were recommended to seek mental health treatments at a greater rate than male survivors. With this data in mind, we can incorporate it into current training programs so that we can educate mandatory reporters in an effort to lengthen or completely eliminate the 9-second interval. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. I think this research was probably really important to a lot of people. I just have a quick question regarding a couple of things within your study. So could you say a bit about, I know that name choice is something you really highlighted. How were those names chosen? I ask because I have an aunt named Johnny. So, and culturally and other considerations, how did you put together those specific name choices?
Yeah, it's actually my dad and my grandpa's name. That's how I picked them personally, but we were attempting to choose traditionally gender-specific names. So I'm a Riley, which could go either way. We really shot for the traditional gender names, but obviously, like you were saying, there's going to be some overlap. I would love to do this again and maybe change the names based on culture or region and see what the results would indicate otherwise.
So my question is, how does your work build on or challenge current theories and practices in your field?
Yeah, so I'm starting my graduate degree in social work here in the fall, and I think this traditional male perpetrator, female survivor dynamic, it really limits folks' ability to identify, see instances of intimate partner violence. So by creating more diverse training programs, training folks who maybe are law enforcement officers, mandatory reporters, and presenting these more diverse scenarios will hopefully help with the greater identification moving forward. Thank you.
Next up, from UW Stout, with the topic Algae Pop, exploring the microalgae infused hard candy. Praki Sakaria.
whey protein for their hair, skin, their muscles growth, and their energy booster, and all over the health, right? Whenever you visited your nearby grocery store, you can find a bunch of protein products out there. And it's predominantly dominated by the whey protein and soya protein. But what is the environmental cost of that production? Well, 8,000 liter of water and 100 liter of animal milk required for making 1 kilogram of whey protein. And it's also emitted 1.7 kilogram of carbon dioxide in the environment. In another hand, that 2,000 liter water required for making 1 kilogram of soya protein, and it's required a lot of land, which resulted in a deforestation. But in contrast, spirulina and chlorella microalgae, it's produced 100 times more protein per hectare, it's required 10 times less water, and it's not emitted. It's absorbed the carbon dioxide from the environment. And it's also have all the antioxidants and all 21 essential amino acids which support your immunity and detoxification system of your body. But here is the one twist. What if we could deliver this sustainable, eco-friendly, protein-rich source in a tangy, sweet, and delicious format? So that's where my project is come. So my aim is to make that plant-based protein-rich snacks in the snack format. So I incorporated that spirulina and chlorella microalgae in the hard candy, and that objective is what is the effect on that sensory, that textural, and physiochemical properties. And also in my experiment, I tasted that 5 different samples with the variation of spirulina and chlorella microalgae, and also I added that citric acid and lemon flavor, because there is one minus point in the algae. It's that fishy flavor and that grassy taste. So I added that citric acid to reduce that natural taste, and what I got. So I also tested that moisture content for that shelf life, and also I did the IRB approved sensory analysis on 60 people. So it's about the taste, aroma, and smell, and all the consumer acceptable factors. And then result, that no one is winning, just 50-50% chlorella and spirulina. It's perfectly combined in the definition of the hard candy. And it's have a perfect moisture optimum in optimum level, and it's also maintain their natural bright green color, and it's provide a very pleasant chewiness when you eat inside your mouth, and it's also contain like 4 to 5% of the daily value of protein. So I created eco-friendly, sustainable, healthy, and it's easily consumable by the all age group, and it's convenient and portable. Just put it in your pocket. And all the functionality and cost effectiveness all together in one single candy. It's algae pop. So it's a perfect snack for today's hard and fast lifestyle. Thank you.
So I love this idea. I guess my question is, what is your kind of long-term vision for this research? Kind of, have you thought about spinning it off into a company?
Yes. For long term, right now I did in a very lab scale base, it's just class project. So in the future, I want to work on a zero sugar candy product with stevia and monk fruit for that diabetic person. And also I want to try with some other fruit flavors like strawberry, cranberry, mango, and pineapples, and incorporate it. And also, I also want to work more on that, increase that protein content of that candy, because right now it's only 4 to 5% of daily value.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, very interesting work. I'm wondering about the source of the material, where you got the plants, and then a 2-part question. If this were to be produced at scale, where would your starting material come from? Could it be harvested from the wild, or would it need to be in a controlled environment?
Can you repeat your question again?
Sure. Where did the starting material come from?
This material is come from that pond. There is one separate pond for the production. It's a single pond, and they harvested in the same pond. So that's why I said in my speech it's required very less land compared to soya protein. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, but in this research I purchased it online. It's a ready-made powder, spirulina and chlorella. Yeah. But there is a separate market of that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
next from UW-Stevens Point with the topic, Influence of Genetics and Sex on Cognition and Anxiety-like Behavior Following Acute Restraint Stress. Nicole Pringle. Nicole Pringle.
Is this on? Okay. Hello everyone, my name is Nicole Pingle and I am studying psychology, sociology, and neuroscience and behavior at UWSP, where I work as a research assistant in Dr. Sean Winnie-Lieber's lab, where we focus on the role that genetics plays in various behavioral outcomes. Numerous studies have indicated that stress is a major contributing factor to many psychiatric disorders, such as anxiety disorders, which impacts an estimated 31% of the adult population in the US. Nevertheless, the biological outcomes following stress are unknown, with people either displaying vulnerability, such as anxiety disorders, resiliency, or no change at all. This led us to question the role that genetics plays in the relationship between stress and anxiety disorders. The utilization of inbred mouse strains is a suitable model to study genetics, as each strain has a unique gene pool. Simply put, within a strain, each mouse is a genetic clone of themselves, but between strains, there are genetic differences. Being in a lab setting, we're able to control for their environment, which means that any behavioral differences we see in our data, we can essentially say are a result of genetics. We compared two inbred mouse strains in an anxiety behavior model, which was the C57 and the DBA2, in, like I said, an anxiety behavior model immediately following stress or not. With our results, we were able to show that only male mice in gene pool A displayed significantly higher levels of anxiety behavior, whereas mice in gene pool B did not. Advancements in technology now allow us to compare genes at a nucleotide base pair region at a specific gene region. One of these analyses is what's called a SNP analysis. And after we conducted this, we noticed that the serotonin transport, the SLC6A4, is a likely candidate gene responsible for the higher levels of anxiety behavior seen in gene pool A male mice. With our results, we can confidently say that our study models anxiety behavior following stress, with gene pool A male mice specifically showing vulnerability effects, which mimics anxiety disorders. Our next steps is to isolate our candidate gene, which is once again the SLC6A4 gene, and see how we can modify it in order to see how it can further impact anxiety disorders in humans. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation. It's very interesting. So as you were talking, I was thinking a little bit about the influence of genetics and cognition, and I was thinking about epigenetics and what sort of